Hey everybody, I'm Garrett.
And I'm Carolyn.
And we're Diary of a Family.
And we're living life intentionally with you.
Today, we're going to talk about what we did to prepare for our trip to Missouri. Now, I highly suggest that you check last week's video on many of the things we did while we were in Washington. It was a lot of fun and you won't want to miss it.
When you're a full-time RVer, sometimes it's nice to go home, see family, and it gives you a chance to do kind of a spring cleaning on your trailer, fixing items that need to be fixed, going through stuff, and just, overall being prepared.
So these are a few things that we did to prepare for this trip.
And also a list of things we wish we had done.
The biggest item that we tackled was lightening our load in our trailer. On our way from Nevada to Washington, we weighed our trailer and found out that we were just a little overweight.
Oh, we're overweight. Time to exercise.
We went through a lot of our stuff. We got rid of anything that we hadn't used in the past 6 months to a year, or even at all, hardly during our trip.
I think we had all of the stuff from our basement out all over the grass at my folks' house. It was quite an amazing thing to see all your things laying on the ground.
And as we were going through it, we were like, why did we take that?
Did we ever use this?
Did we use
Maybe
this?
One time.
There were items that definitely did not make the cut for this round of our travels. We also went through our kids' clothes. There were lots of clothes that were either too small for them, were not the right season, or we just didn't need them anymore.
In trailers, you have small storage spaces, and clothing does weigh a lot. In this lifestyle, we tend to wear the same item several days in a row until it's actually dirty. Because wearing it one time, unless you're doing something very, very dirty, you're not going to get those clothing items enough dirty to warrant just being tossed in the wash.
The only exception is underwear.
And socks.
And socks.
Underwear and socks. One-time use.
Yeah. We also thinned out our kids' toys. Some toys that they hadn't been playing with.
It's starting to show the wear and tear of the road.
Yeah.
This visit gave me a chance to go through all of their school materials and get rid of the things that I knew we weren't going to use this year. Being that it was towards the end of our school year, we were able to say, okay, we're going to finish these couple of subjects and the rest of it, we're tossing this. I picked up a few books here and there from family members that we will use, but mostly we're going to buy new curriculum for our kids.
The next step in our process to get ready for our trip was to get both of our vehicles in the shop to get any and every repair that we could get done.
Oh my gosh. At one point, both the vehicles were sitting in bays side by side.
Well, this is always an interesting sight to see. Our truck, no shoes, being changed in the shop. Our car, sitting right next to it in the shop, ready to get some new injectors. In total, I think our vehicle spent about a week in the shop getting all kinds of things done. We finally got that issue with the car figured out. It was a fuel injector.
Injectors!
Was there any other work on the car, or was that the main one?
It got a tune-up, it got some oil changes, and they did the engine mount.
That's right. There was a lot of work done on the car.
A lot of work. We were actually surprised the truck cost us more money to get fixed in the long run. First, we had the engine cleaned out of soot, including a little connector to the O2 sensor. Then when we had it in the shop,
they saw this massive leak. Well, they thought it was a leak. They hunted down the source of the leak, which turned out to be multiple leaks.
Multiple oil
from
leaks.
All over the engine, which took them 8 hours to fix. And we got new shoes on our truck as well.
Our truck had used its 40,000 mile tires all the way up.
There was not much left, that's for sure.
Just getting new shoes. Expensive new shoes. You guys can probably change the tires on a rig like this in about, 10 minutes? 10 minutes. New tires.
Yep. The vehicle has no tires on.
How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm glad they're getting new tires. I thought we would be able to last just a little bit longer without having to switch out the tires. But I do know that the tire tread was getting really low.
Yeah.
So it would have been a crapshoot whether we would have made it. I feel confident we probably would have made it to Missouri, but with how far gone they are, it might not have made it.
Yeah, we didn't want to deal with the blowout.
Exactly.
And then there was that pesky little front end issue that we had left with, knowing that at some point we would need to get it fixed. In total, we spent a whopping $6,500 on both the vehicles.
Which is still cheaper than a new car, but...
That's true. We were able to safely go 2,100 miles to St. Louis, Missouri without any car issues at all. Thank you to Regal Auto Care in Auburn, Washington for all of the great work that you did on our vehicles as you serviced them and got us back on the road.
We'll be back. The last thing we did was we had to plan our trip. After we had gotten our contract signed here in St. Louis, we had to figure out what was the best way to get here. One of the first things we did was we booked a RV park here in the area. After we had figured out where we were going to land here in St. Louis, we mapped out our route. We kept our routes to main interstates and to well-traveled truck routes. This lessened our chances of coming up against low clearance bridges, against anything that would be hard for us to navigate with our trailer.
Along the route, we planned how many miles we wanted to go per day and kind of chose areas where we could camp overnight. We did a smattering of paid for RV spots and then a whole string of Walmart parking, which helps with getting you to a location faster because it's no frills, you're just there for the night, and then you pack up and go as fast as you can.
A pro tip, use an Excel spreadsheet to write out your trip. This will allow you to gauge mile-wise how long your trip is going to take, places that you will be able to stay at, and secondary places that you can stay in an area if the first one doesn't work out for you. Because there are times where things change and you can't stay in a Walmart parking lot, or the RV park you thought had space doesn't. You need to have a backup.
Pro tip number 2, always be flexible. We did have to change our route a little bit after we had gotten started on it when we realized that one of the days that we had planned for a longer travel day was not really where we wanted it to be in our travel plans. So we had to change our plans just a tad and move it around so that it was landing on a different day.
All in all, we were very happy with how the trip turned out.
Alright, so the things we didn't do. Excuse me.
There were a few things that we didn't get done.
There were some things that we didn't do while we were in Washington that it would have been better if we'd gotten done. First of all, we knew we were headed to a very warm climate, and we should have thought this through and gotten our ACs cleaned out before we got here instead of after. Now we get the joy of
getting it cleaned in hot and humid.
We'll have to be up on the hot roof. We're gonna have to be dying inside with them off while we're doing the cleaning, but it will make a difference, I think.
Yeah. Next, we did not clean our water system. This is something you should be doing every
3 to
6 months, depending on how much you use your trailer. If you live in the rig full time, you should probably do it more often, just to keep bacteria and stuff from growing in your tanks and in your water lines.
I think the last time we did it was before we headed to Reno,
Yep.
Nevada. So that would have been February, March time. It's time to do it again.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to do it when you're in an RV park and they're like, why are you dumping water all over the ground?
The release is basically just water.
Because you rinse your tank and then you dump it all.
Yeah. We also didn't get our refrigerator serviced. It's probably something that we might try and get done while we're here, have someone come out and look at it, but our refrigerator really struggled on this trip because of how hot it was.
There were multiple days where that refrigerator was reading well over 40 degrees inside. We were switching ice out from the freezer down into the refrigerator portion, but because of all the hours that we were doing on the road with the propane turned off and the fact that you're not leveled in, and RV refrigerators really like to be level.
And they like to be on for a long time so that the whole system continues to run.
So I was concerned about us losing food. We ended up only having to throw 1 or 2 items away. Otherwise, we did pretty well. It still struggles some days, but we have also taken it kind of apart and blown it out, sort of like what they will do on a service call.
Yeah.
Remember, RV hot water tanks and refrigerators and AC units need to be serviced 1 time a year at least.
This next one is one of Carolyn's personal favorites.
We should have put the reflectix on our windows and such before we hit the road. Washington was very cool, very mild, and we didn't see the point of putting them up yet. But when we hit the road, we hit quite a few places on travel days that were just so hot. And so we were scrambling to try to get the reflectix up in the skylights and in windows, and it was kind of difficult. It would have been nicer to take our time and do it properly.
I think by the time we hit eastern Washington, it was hot. And then it was hot all the way until we got to, I'd say, Omaha. We had a cool day in Omaha.
Yeah, Omaha was nice.
And the last thing we wish we would have gotten done was to wash our rig.
You kind of want to build those things into travel days if you're going to have somebody do it professionally for you, where you just go to the truck wash and get it done. And we passed numerous ones.
Yeah.
But when you're trying to get from point A to point B and it's a long trip, you kind of decide, oh no, I'm not going to get the rig weighed this time. No, we'll get it washed some other time. And it's just something that we've put off for a very long time. There are bug guts splattered all over the thing and roadkill blood and just, it's just not pretty anymore.
Sounds like something out of Mad Max.
Yeah. So these little things that help you with your full-time lifestyle, you have to work them into those times where you're kind of just chilling with family or sitting still in a place where you can do that sort of thing.
We hope these tips were helpful for you when you go to plan your next epic adventure. Make sure to check out last week's video if you have not watched it on all the fun things we did with our family in Washington. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And as always, live life intentionally.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.